What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz is here with another Mega Man X-Dive character overview video. It's been a while since I was last able to record one of these, but I'm feeling much better this week. So let's finally cover Zinogre Iris. Alright, so here we are taking a look at Zinogre Iris. Here, she was uploaded before Crimson Vale Strike 0. Basically just because C comes before Z. So that's how I had just had my stuff set up to record these two for. However, I wasn't feeling well towards the end of last week, so I didn't get this up in time. But they also, like, the order of these two were not the same as they were initially in the Taiwan version. These two were initially on one banner, but they were not in global. They released Iris first and then Zero. So there is that. Because I've actually gotten a few questions about why is about the reversed order of these two. It's like, how come this is up? Where is Iris? I was like, well, reasons. But anyway, let's take a look at Zinogre Iris's skills here. First up, we have Zinogre Roar. Unleashes a column of laser beams that ignores terrain, dealing this, I want to say, about 240% attack damage. It's because mine is at level 2, so that base damage is a little bit less than that. To all targets in its path, which is changed to 50% damage after it penetrates to a target. If the charge slot is full when you use a skill, you enter a supercharged state that cannot be removed. When activating Zinogre Roar in a supercharged state, the range of Zinogre Roar will be increased with additional immobility effect on the target. Charge slot will increase over time. And this is actually kind of a thing with some other units they have as well. This with Iris. They have a pseudo thing with this on Crimson Vale Strike 0. He has his own unique status. And some other units as well, but since they're not out in Globia, I'm not going to really talk about them all that much right now. Zinogre Iris will have a bar you will see fill up, and once that bar is full, I just want to come over here real quick. She will be in like her supercharged state, and you'll be able to notice the supercharged state because if you play Monster Hunter, this should look very familiar. How Zinogre will be like in a supercharged state. You can actually see like the difference in color on it. You can see that in Iris as well. When she's not in her supercharged state, she has her generic like brown hair that you see in the highlight intro and like in every other iteration of Iris. However, let's take a look at the modifier chips here. With power increase, increases the damage by 20%, but will not be able to penetrate a target. This is alright. If using her in a PvE scenario, this isn't really ideal though. Harden, increased damage of penetration by 40% after penetration. Again, this is okay. This isn't even that great for PvE either. I'd probably want to go for this. No, I'd rather, like, I think I would rather have this in PvE scenarios. And then we have Laser Orb. When activating Zinogre Roar in a supercharged state, you release an additional Laser Orb that ignores terrain and has a enemy seeking effect to cause damage and immobilize the target. Very, very nice. This is what you will have on Iris if you're using her in a PvE setting. Maybe you want this in a PvP setting, PvE setting as well, just because this is an additional way to deal damage. Because you unleash a additional orb. You don't really care about the immobilize in PvE though. So, skill number 2 is Cross Electrocution. Continuously inflict, I believe this is about 130, maybe 133-ish. I think it's like 132, 133-ish. Again, my skill is at level... Oh, no, this is a level 1. Oh, okay. I apologize. So this is at 134.4% attack damage to all targets in range. If the charge slot is full when you use the skill, you will enter a supercharged state that cannot be removed. When activating Cross Electrocution in a supercharged state, the power of Cross Electrocution is enhanced. The charge slot will increase over time. So again, the charge slot will be something that it will increase over time as you're just kind of using the unit. And it'll be there kind of like the Giga Crush meters you have on various X units, like Second Armor X. I know is in global and has a Giga Crush. Falcon Armor X as well, actually. Or two I can think off the top of my head anyway. So for the modifier chips for this, we have Paralyzing Current. When hitting a target with Cross Electrocution, there's a chance to the target to become immobile. And I think it's about a 30% chance on that. Okay, it seemed to be about a 30% chance on that. Again, I had to look at the wiki to get an exact number because the game doesn't tell us that. So it's not a bad chance for it to trigger, but it's roughly a 1 in 3. So if your power increases damage rate by 5%. And then we have mobility, reduces the prep time by 20%, so this goes down to what, about like 6.5 second prep time, which is probably what you're going to want to use if using this in PvP. PvE as well, most likely. This can be useful, but I think having the consistency might be what you want overall. I do think she does have another way to inflict immobilize in her kit, though, if I remember correctly, as well, with a passive skill, which we're going to take a look at right now. So first up, with power storage, enter battle with a charge slot fully charged. So basically, you enter battle with the slot fully charged, and you have access to your supercharged state immediately, which is fantastic. Showtime, not taking any damage when using cross electrocution. Again, great having showtime there. Laser orb, when you activate cross electrocution in a supercharged state, it will release several additional laser orbs that ignore terrain, have an enemy seeking effect to deal damage to the target. Again, fantastic. Allows you to deal more damage. You use cross electrocution in a supercharged state, and when you enter stage, your charge slot will be fully charged. So that will be very good there. Yes, we have Whirlwind Gale, something I actually like on, I like the passive name in particular on this because it makes me think of that one, those of you that play Monster Hunter, Tanoka has an attack where it kind of like kicks forward and like kind of whirlwinds itself upwards. So that kind of just makes me think of that attack. Removes permanent shield status after hitting a target with a character skill. Movement speed is increased by 32.4% when in a supercharged state. Now this is actually really cool as well. I like the movement speed when it's in supercharged state because it's kind of like akin to Monster Hunter. But being able to remove preventative shield when you hit targets with skills is actually very, very nice. What that means is when you use a skill, you remove the preventative shield from them. But what I don't know is how the interaction is with the preventative shield and they're removing it. So I don't know, for example, if when say like I use cross electrocution and I have this on. I don't know if the preventative shield will get removed and then have a chance to inflict a paralysis. In my head, that doesn't seem like it should work because I would have to connect the skill and then this would trigger upon connecting. So for this one, that doesn't make too much sense to me either. I'm not sure about this one though. I don't think, again, that doesn't really make too much sense in my head that it would remove it beforehand. Just because it's slightly different from other games. Like I'm using other games as my kind of reference point for that, because like I said, in my head I would have to connect with the skill first and then it removes the positive status on the opposition. So because the preventative shield is already there, it should not work. At least that's how I'm thinking of it. Though in some games, depending on the skill, like War of the Visions, it can vary depending on the thing. Whether it'll inflict the status or whatever before the skill resolves or after the skill resolves. So, but I think I think it would remove it. Like it wouldn't take the effect initially with this. And then we have Rumbling Thunder. When attack, the charge slot is increased. That is very, very good. Just so that when you take damage, the charge slot increases. Damage inflicted during supercharged state is increased by 25%, and damage received is reduced by 25%. So you have a kind of inherent damage amplification, damage mitigation here, which is actually fantastic. Though it means that your damage amplification mitigation comes in little bursts here. Along with kind of like that's kind of how Iris is. A lot of her kit just comes in kind of bursts here, which means you have to play her a little bit more conservatively when you're zoning people out. But I do like having this as just as like a state rather than a status. Is very, very nice. And it's also really nice because the where is it? Superstar state that cannot be removed. Yeah, super state cannot be removed, which is very, very good as well because some weapons running around right now. There's more characters that can like dispel buffs and things like that, but also Grudge Axe is a weapon that released recently in global that can just yoink things. So it shouldn't be able to remove that. Although I do remember there was some kind of weird interaction that I think someone was telling me about that didn't make sense to me because it was for statuses that cannot be removed, but they could still steal statuses with like I think it was Zero Knuckle could still steal statuses with the card or something like that. It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it should work like that. But if it does, that is very, very unfortunate. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at the DNA code. So first up in the fixed DNA slots, we have power storage enhancement, increase the natural recovery speed of the charge slot by 25%, which is very, very nice there. So you get your charge slot 25% or 75% faster. No, it takes 25% less time to charge it up, is what I meant to say there. You don't get it 75% faster. It just takes 25% less time, which 25 minus 100 is 75, which is why I said 75, because that's what the number I had in my head when I looked at the numbers. Laser Flash increases the number of laser orbs released by cross execution to 5, which is good. It goes from 3 to 5, which is quite nice. That just means more damage overall that have a chance to lock onto your enemy and make things a bit easier for you. And then finally we have Howling at the Moon. The acceleration effect of Whirlwind Gale is increased by 25% after the supercharged state is over. Defense is strengthened and damage is reduced from attacks by 40%. That is huge. That is a fat defensive reduction right there after you leave your supercharged state. So that's very, very nice. The only downside with this here is that it is a defense buff. So again, Grudge Axe, Scourge from like Zero Nightmare can easily just like plop this off of you. But you will still have one attack where you take a little bit less damage. So it's not like it's completely useless. It just loses a lot of value overall, which kind of sucks. But let's also take a look at her Recombine DNA, which if I remember correctly is pretty jank. Her unique Recombine DNA. Yeah, when you are in a mobile status, you take 15 or 16% less damage. That'd be great if it was just not, you don't have to be in a mobilized status, but like if this was like linked to her no, it wouldn't be good if it was linked to her her supercharged state, because it would be good, but it wouldn't be good as a recombined DNA for that. But I mean, there's her unique DNA. It might come in handy, but overall I don't think it's that great. I think it'd be better if you want damage mitigation. You probably want to go like Player Sentinel if you're using it in PvP. In like PvE scenarios, actually I don't know if that's a good one for that, but yeah, I think Player Sentinel would be the best thing to go for in general for that if you're using it for PvP. So now that we've taken a look at all of her kit and what she can do for the most part, let's take a look at some weapons that would pair well with her. Alright, so kind of like your basic things are going to be, I say basic things, but Iris doesn't really have much like Crimson Vow 0. She doesn't really have any weapons in particular that she would like to use. So you're kind of going to have to like pick something and kind of roll with that, and then from there build your cards up and see what you want to do in there. So first up, I want to mention the Cannon God. Cannon God is good for zoning. You don't have to really worry about where you are or where the enemy is, just because of how good the Cannon God is in terms of range. It can pierce terrain. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to really worry too much. Sniper style busters are great as well with the Sniper Buster and the Explosive Bolt. You don't have to get too close to the opposition, but depending on the map, you might not necessarily want to use Sniper Buster. Explosive Bolt, I think, is it's personal preference if you want to use like this or Sniper Buster, or not Sniper Buster, or like you like between this Sniper Buster or Destructive Laser. I think this is a lot better on maps that are a bit more enclosed, so you can make use of the ricocheting personally. Though you do have access to just raw player killer in this as a hidden skill, which is very, very nice. And the player killer isn't numbered either, so this should stack with like player killer 2, player killer 3, or player killer 1 as well. Penetration is also a skill you can use as well, because it ricochets, so that you increase the damage after it starts ricocheting. So that's something you can do. Other usual melee weapons for PvP, Nightmare and the Berserker Greatsword, I think are very, very nice as well. You know, just as per usual, Nightmare is Nightmare, Berserker Greatsword. I really like this sword as well. And then combined with like, this has inherent slow, it has dimensional rift, so you get some damage over time, and just Iris this naturally can pierce terrain, so you can get a stun off, so you can close the distance. You also have the speed boost as well, allowing you to get even closer, even easier. You can also use the Ancient Relic if you want even more of a speed boost. to either engage or disengage. I don't think, personally with Iris though, I'm not really even sure you would want to use her with melee weapons. Melee weapons are good, but because she can like more easily zone characters away, I don't think you want to be in close quarters with her all that often. Gator Fangs and Explosive Blowers, also decent options as well. Even though I had mentioned I feel like you don't want to get too close with Iris in general. With these two weapons are just really, really good. Alongside that, you have potential for more stuns with the oh, I click like everything but the right thing. You have access to more immobilizes with this, so you could try to make a chain stunning build with Zenogre Iris. I think it would be decent. Also, I think that the electric current spray gun might be solid as well, because you can kind of zone out with this in a way. You don't necessarily like apply too much pressure with this, but what you do with this is you have access to destroy armor. This can also pierce terrain as well, but also okay, no, it's not that, is it? This? No? No? This also has a paralysis chance on it as well. Yeah, this has a paralyzing current on it, which you can use as well. So as you also go range increase, that's these not. I think you want to go paralyzing current, and you just trying to like more lean into how Zenogre Iris can just like stun, which is why I think this is decent as well. Turbo Cannon is just Turbo Cannon. It has iframes attached to it, so you can have more iframes in general, and just to make use of that. Again, that is the hidden skill with the overheat protection, and a lot of people prefer to actually not unlock this skill here, because that means you get to the overheat protection a lot sooner. That's just something that people like to do. It might work out better overall. I'm not sure if it does. It probably does, because you can more easily control this, so that means you won't have as much ammo to go through with it. I'm gonna slot in Bubble Bomber and Heart Spray Gun in here as well, but for PvE scenarios, because these things just have healing access for you for the PvE side. So with this Emotional Reflux, I have free emotion here as well that can bestow healing. So it's decent for like Jacobs and things like that. And then Bubble Bomber just has Oracle of Life, and then also for healing in PvE scenarios, it has access to regeneration, so you can get some HP back when your weapon energy is exhausted, alongside when you get hit as well. I do want to include Freezing Dominator and the Snowy Spray Gun as well, even though we just got Grudge Axe in global, and I can't like show it here because I don't own Grudge Axe on this account. What Grudge Axe does is, if the opposition gets close enough to you, they can just joint debuffs away from you. So they can just steal your debuffs away, like your Chameleon Ship, your Grudge, your shields and things like that. So you want to be a bit more careful using these weapons in general. But because of how Iris can kind of zone people away pretty easily, I think they're still a decent enough option. Although even with that, you're gonna have to watch out for characters like Zero Nightmare that can just remove your buffs in general as well. AZ can also just undo barrier, but at least with AZ, you don't have to worry as much about just your buffs getting taken. It's just more so barriers. However, if AZ is alongside Grudge Axe, then you would have to worry about it. Though, like I said, I think this is still a decent option. It's just not as good because of the Grudge Axe. Though Singularity Slasher can also get rid of buffs as well. But this also has out of control on access to as well, which makes dealing with people a little bit harder. But I think that's why Iris is pretty good, because Grudge Axe is rising, and it's a bit easier to zone people away from you with Iris in general. But I think that's enough for the weapon options you have right now. So let's take a look at some cards. Alright, again, kind of as per usual, because Iris, much like Criminal Rush Zero and some other characters I've spoken about in the past, they don't really have anything in particular that you want to use with them, so they're going to be dependent on how you opt to build your units. Just generic stuff, player killer, sure, that's always great. So the usual suspects for that will be your life auras for your base. You have your M Bison cards. You have your Mac cards. Here's Life Aura from base here. You also have your X4 Sigma second form card. I said Mac in particular. I always mention Mac because Mac is an A rank card, and like everyone can get the Life Aura and the other cards as well. But Mac is a decent A rank option as well. Something else you could also consider is the Blanca card. I guess kind of depending on which build you're going to lean more into with Iris of the things I spoke about, because like I did mention you could lean more into like the immobilized build with her to try and just like focus on getting immobilization on the opposition while you're zoning them out, and Blanca will allow you to deal more damage while you do that. I believe immobilized 2 is 8%. I don't have my Blanca at stage at 6-star. But that is a skill you could put on. And then alongside that, again, depending on what weapons you have, maybe you want your Buster Amplification on from your Airman. Oh, okay. Well, maybe not Airman, because I'm pretty sure that card's not in global. I know a card that isn't global here though is the where is it? Right here, the X's Memories card. I mentioned this previously with a character. Might have been Zero Nightmare. No, Zero Nightmare I probably didn't. Regardless of whatever I mentioned it with, you can get this from the guild in global version, which is quite nice because you have Buster Amplification, you have Immobilized Resistance. So if you're using a Buster's type weapon with this, stacking this with Immobilized Resistance will be quite nice there. You can use a Chameleon's Chameleon card if you're going to opt to go with some of the sprayers I mentioned there. Maybe you want to go electric current spray gun, and maybe like explosive blower if you want to try something like that. You don't have to use those two blowers, but those are just the first two that I thought of. And then maybe if you want to look to some PvE kind of builds here, the Yomogi card is pretty nice. The Yomogi card is very, very nice because the Yomogi from the Bunny Dongo 2 from Yomogi will stack with itself, as you can see, green, green, blue here. And their first skill is green, green. So if you're using PvE setup, you can actually just stack 2 Yomogis pretty easily on that. I want to point this out here again because I mentioned this once before when I was doing Shikai. And because Grudge Axe allows you to inflict out of control status, this card is not yet out in global, so I do want to preface this with that, but we're very, very close to Halloween. And for the second year Halloween event, we get access to the Spy Devil card. As you can see here, Spy Devil has the out of control special attack 2, triggers off of 2 yellows, which is fantastic because this card in itself is yellow. So if you're going to use Grudge Axe, maybe not even with Zenogre Iris, maybe you want to just grab some of these as well, stack them with each other, because then you also can potentially have access to Player Sentinel 2 and Player Sentinel 3 as well, so you reduce the damage you take even further, alongside amplifying your damage while the opposition is in out of control status. Forgot to mention Akuma as well. Because the Master of the Fist skill, the Preventive Shield special attack won't help all that much just because of the first passive. You will do additional damage with the first hit, but then after that you remove it. But it does, the Master of the Fist works with different iterations of a player killer because they're different names. Alright, I think that will be it for Zenogre Iris. She is a unit that I like, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I believe the rank PvP map just changed in global to cyberspace. So I think that both Zenogre Iris and Crimson Valstrike Zero do pretty well over there, to be quite honest. Just because they both have attacks that can pretty easily pierce the terrain and, like, you know, just kind of make use of the enclosed areas there. But that's going to be it for this video. Again, sorry I brought this. I wasn't able to put this out sooner, but I wasn't feeling too good the past week or so. But real quick, I want to give a shout out to the people that support me on Patreon and as YouTube channel members. Appreciate y'all for supporting me, allowing me to continue what I do. If you'd like to support me on either Patreon or as a YouTube channel member, you can find that information down below in the video description or below the video. And I will see you guys next time. Later.